A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, it's Sahih Bukhari. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I decide to move and to live with you. I will join your army. I'll be one of your soldiers. I left my family, left my town, and I moved to Medina to live with you, to be a member of your army. Then the Nabi ﷺ told him, do you have parents? Your parents alive? Then he said, yes, I do. And he said, how did they do it? He said, I left them back home crying because I left them and I joined you and I came to Medina. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, go back, live with them, be in their company, serve them. That's what his Jannah is. If you go to enter paradise, that's what you need to do. He ordered him to leave Medina, where he lives, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to go and to be with his family, his parents. In another narration, he said, I have a mother who was crying because I left her. He said, go back and make sure that you make her laugh as you made her cry. قال أضحكها كما أبكيتها صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Actually, there is one of the tabi'een, the successors. His name was Uwais al-Qarni. Anybody heard about this name? So this man, Uwais al-Qarni, the Prophet ﷺ told Umar ibn al-Khattab, if you ever meet him, ask him to pray for you. Umar, he asked this man to pray for him. For what? Guess what? Uwais al-Qarni was alive during the Prophet ﷺ time. But he never get chance to see the Prophet ﷺ. He never came to Medina. He was living where? Where? In Yemen. No. In Yemen. He was living in Yemen. And when Wafd al-Azd came from Yemen to meet the Prophet ﷺ, to meet Abu Bakr, Umar met Uwais al-Qarni. And he said, you the one who the Prophet asked me to, whenever I meet you, to ask you to pray for me. So do please pray for me. Ud'u li. You know what is so unique about this man? What is so special about Uwais al-Qarni? What made him very special man? One of his quality, that he rather to stay with his mom, to look after her, to serve her, than go to Medina and to see the Prophet ﷺ or to be a companion. He believed in the Prophet ﷺ without seeing him, but he couldn't travel and leave his mother by herself. That's one of the greatest this one of the greatest things that he ever done, or something he was well known of him, that made him very special man. If this is the case, imagine how days and years or so us really don't care about his parents, and we don't feel the importance of their existence in our life. One of also the rights that you should try to please them, as the Prophet ﷺ said. The Prophet ﷺ said, pleasing Allah will be by pleasing your parents. And Allah will be angry at you when you make your parents angry. Or another narration of Tirmidhi, when you make your father angry. So it is one of the obligations upon us to try to make them pleased, to make them happy, to make sure that they are pleased with you. And it shouldn't be a hard thing to do. And I wish this lecture will be addressed to a large number of parents and future parents, inshallah. Them is something also one of the rights upon us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu recommend us and order us that we should try to make them pleased. And one of the rights also, if they have not performed Hajj and they cannot offer to go to Mecca to perform Hajj financially or because of health reasons, or they die and they never perform Hajj, it is your responsibility to try to make Hajj on their behalf, or Umrah if they never did Umrah as well. If they missed days in Ramadan and they never made it up, it is your responsibility to do that. If they made a commitment, an oath, or they made another to do something and they died before fulfilling it, or they couldn't do it, they couldn't fulfill it because of financial reasons, and you were capable of doing it, it became your responsibility to do that. If you know that they have taken something which it doesn't belong to them, Let's say, God forbid, that you have a father or a mother who has stolen something from somebody, have taken a land which doesn't belong to him. And you know this is not my father, my parents' property, or this is something they should not possess. In this case, it is your duty to ask them, advise them to return it back. And if they die, you give it back after their death to the people who deserve it. Also, one of the rights to pray for them, الدعاء لهم أحياء وأمواتا, while they are alive and while they are dead. And it doesn't matter, they are alive or dead, they are Muslim or not Muslims, they are righteous or not righteous. You pray for them, if they are alive and they are not Muslims, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them tawfiq, success, and to put His mercy upon them, open their heart, guide them to the truth, and so on. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to pray for his own mother until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade him from doing that because she died as a non-believer, and he told him you cannot pray for her anymore, and he stopped. Ibrahim before that, Prophet Ibrahim, he prayed for his father all these years, asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide him, and after his death, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said after he died, that's it, you cannot ask for him, you cannot pray for him. But other than that, if they are alive, you pray for them. If they are dead and they are Muslims, you pray and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them al-Jannah, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them forgiveness, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to gather you with them and their parents in paradise, and so on. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that when you die, your deeds will three things will continue after your death. The reward of it will continue after death. If you have a righteous son or daughter, pray for you after your death. وَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us in the Quran, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِ صَغِيرًا. Oh Allah, put your mercy upon them as they brought me up when I was young. رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيِّ. Oh Allah, forgive me and my parents. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu arda, Marwan ibn al-Hakam used to assign him to be the ruler of Medina when Marwan leaves Medina. Abu Hurairah every day in the morning passed by his mother's house. She's old. Just let you know something about Abu Hurairah. Interesting. I don't know how many of you know that before or not. Abu Hurairah never narrated to us the Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ. Anybody aware of that? He never described to us how the Prophet performed his Hajj. He described everything in the Prophet ﷺ except this incident. Do you know why? Because he didn't make it with the Prophet ﷺ that year. He did not perform Hajj with the Prophet ﷺ. Do you know why? Because his mother, she was sick. And he stayed behind with her, looking after her, and he did not join the trip with the Prophet ﷺ to Mecca to perform one of the pillars of Islam, which is Hajj, with Muhammad ﷺ. He'd rather to stay and to serve his mother than to get that chance, which is maybe it's never happened again actually. This man was a great taker of his mother. He took care of his mother until she attained a very old age. Every day when he leaves the house in the morning, he will pass by her house, knock the door, and he would say, Assalamu alayki ya ummah, kama rabbaytini saghira. Assalamu alayhi. He prayed for her that Allah save her and put His mercy upon her as she took care of him when he was a child. Then his mother would reply by saying, and may Allah save you and bless you and put His mercy upon you as you've been taking care of me after I became an old woman. That's how he used to treat her, not only once a day, twice, when he comes back and when he leaves the house.